Welcome, everybody, to Black and Gold Weekly, a weekly Boston Bruins show here on YouTube, brought to you in partnership with Black and Gold Productions. I am your host, John. This is episode 61, and joining me again today is Danny, who's become the co-host of the show. Danny, it's so great to have you here. Welcome in, and ready to talk some Bruins hockey, because boy, do I have some things to say today.
I love a fired up John whenever he talks hockey. It makes for laughter on my end and overall a great product in terms of analysis. And today's show, number 61, you know how I like to do the jersey numbers.
Yep.
Craig Cunningham wore it in 2014-15, and Rick Nash won it during his brief stint as a Bruin in 2018. So there you go.
There we go.
Not too shabby.
Episode 61. All right, well, we might as well get into things here, but before we start, I do want to give a thank you, as always, to Mark Allred and the entire team at Black and Gold Productions. This show would not be happening without them, so big thank you to them for all their support. Also, draw your attention down to the description of the video. There are 3 links down there. If you're in the market for Boston Bruins apparel, NHL apparel from any of the 32 teams, or NCAA college apparel, it would really be awesome if you could check out those links in the description. They've got a great variety of products, all different team branded things, all your usual stuff like hoodies and jerseys and hats and all of that, but also some really cool accessory products as well. So please check that out if you are looking for any of those things. But let's get into it here, man, because I am pissed about this Toronto game. Because this was a game that there was so much hype going into it. There was so much on the line, same record, tied in the standings, a chance to pass Toronto and get a big statement win on your home ice, and you get absolutely hosed in your own building. And the statement win actually goes to the Maple Leafs, and the Bruins, on a 4-game winning streak, barely even show up to this game. The first period particularly was horrible, and Jay looked like absolute trash and get destroyed by the Leafs. I mean, this was so aggravating and frustrating to watch.
The Bruins never woke up from their pregame nap. I mean, this was an absolute embarrassment. You get so much hype as being one of the best teams in the league since the new year, but yet you fail to win a statement game against your rival. Credit to the Maple Leafs for going, on the road, I believe, if I'm correct, and coming into the Bruins building and making a statement of their own. I don't like crediting the Maple Leafs. I hate the Maple Leafs, but, you got to give credit where credit is due. And the Bruins looked horrible. This was a game that I really wanted them to show up. This was a game that we talked about last week as one that we were looking forward to, and it was a snoozer. It really was a snoozer, and the Bruins, quite frankly, should be embarrassed because they're going to play teams as good or even better as the Maple Leafs come playoff time. And if, this was a tune-up for the playoffs type of game, then they definitely have some work to do.
It's a failed test for the Bruins, that's for sure, especially
Absolutely.
With how well they've been playing. No reason for them to play this poorly as they did on Tuesday night. Man, there's so much I want to rip into about this game. I mean, first of all, they completely hung out Jeremy Swayman. I mean, it's going to look bad, 6 goals against for Swayman, numbers-wise. That's going to, really hit the goals against and save percentage. But they absolutely hung him out to dry. The defense in this game was as bad as I've seen all season. I mean, odd man rushes against, horrible turnovers. The speed of Toronto just made the Bruins look like they were in quicksand. Like, they couldn't even skate with them. It was ridiculous. I feel really bad for Swayman getting worked the way that he did. I honestly, I don't know why they left him in for as long as they did. They should have pulled him at least after the 4th goal. It was like, okay, time to shake things up. Time to at least get Omar in. And I don't understand why they left him in to just have his confidence just destroyed, giving up 6 against a rival team. This was Swayman's first time ever playing the Maple Leafs. I would say most, if not all, of the goals were not his fault. They were, defensive breakdowns, bad turnovers, odd man rushes against us. Not much a goalie can do in those situations. It was not his fault that he got lit up, and they just kind of left him in there to get rocked. And I don't know if there's some sort of like move by Cassidy to try and build his mental toughness or something, but I don't love leaving a rookie goalie in to give up 6. And it's not like the Bruins have to play the next night either. Like, I would understand if it was a back-to-back set and you needed your other goalie for the next night to be fully rested, then yeah, Sway, sorry, you're kind of on your own, and Ullmark's playing tomorrow. But the Bruins have a day off between games. They have a day off on Wednesday before Thursday's game against New Jersey. So why leave Swayman in there to give up 6? And like they should have. He gave up 3 in the first period. I understand them not pulling him after the first and giving him a chance in the second to get back into the game and get the team back into the game. But after they gave up that 4th goal to go down 4-1, honestly, at that point, Ullmark should have gone in. And you should not have. I don't believe they should have left Swayman in to give up 6 and get rattled the way that he did.
No, and listen, I understand last night wasn't his fault. I completely 100% agree with that. But, people will look at the box score, right? And say, this was Swayman's fault. And it gives another game, to the theory that he struggles against good teams.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this wasn't his fault, but you have to think in the back of his mind that he realizes that he may be struggling against some better opponents too. And this was not, this did nothing to build his confidence whatsoever against a better team. It looked like the October Bruins, not the Bruins that we've seen since the new year.
Yeah, 100%. Yesterday's team looked like the first 2 months of the year for Boston. And this, I would say, was easily their worst game since the last time they played Carolina back in early February when they lost 6-0. This, to me, this had the same feeling as those Carolina games, where Boston was just completely outmatched over the ice and embarrassed. And this is one of those games where the score makes it look closer than the game actually was. Usually it goes the other way, where you see like a 4-1 or a 5-1 score, but the game was actually a lot closer than that, but it was 2 empty netters at the end that made the score look bad. This game was the opposite of that. The 6-4 score was a lot closer than what the game actually was. I mean, Boston showed a little bit of fight, at least in the third period, and came back and put a couple of goals in and made it look at least decent on the scoreboard. But this was a drubbing. This was an absolute beatdown by the Maple Leafs in every facet of the game. They completely outplayed the Bruins, with the exception of, I guess, the third period. But by that point, the game was pretty much over at that point anyway. So they you could tell the Leafs took the foot off the gas in the third because they had such a big lead. Boston was at least able to make it look respectable on the scoreboard, but in reality, this was more like a 6-1, 6-2 type of game. It was not the showing I was hoping for from the Bruins, especially after the way they played against Tampa Bay on Thursday. Like, these big divisional games that, the fans really get hyped up for, and I was really looking forward to. They played so well on Thursday against the Lightning and played such a great playoff style game and were able to win that game. I had really high hopes going into this one against Toronto, and it was a complete letdown, a complete disappointment, and very frustrating and very aggravating as a Bruins fan.
And even against the Islanders, they were able to control the pace of play. They were able to really do what they wanted to do. That was one of the games where I felt that the Bruins really outskated the Islanders, and you were hoping to see that continue against a better opponent in Toronto, and boy, that was not the case.
Yeah, and Boston's defense, I think, shares most of the blame for this game. They were awful defensively. The first 3 goals of the game can all directly be attributed to Bruins defensemen and mistakes that they made. First goal, Connor Clifton. And boy, I'll say this right now, I do not want to see Connor Clifton in the lineup for a while for the Bruins. Get Mike Riley back in there. Get Josh Brown some games. I want to see Josh Brown. I mean, I know he's a depth guy. He's more the big physical bruiser type, but I want to see Josh Brown get some games. He's certainly gonna be better than Clifton has been. That's for sure. Clifton was absolutely horrible Tuesday night, and first 3 goals for the Maple Leafs. First goal of the game for Toronto. Connor Clifton throws the puck to nobody in the defensive zone. Leafs get it, take advantage, score in front of the net. Easy goal for Toronto, and blatant, horrible turnover by Connor Clifton. Second goal for the Maple Leafs. Brandon Carlo, who had an awful night on Tuesday. Carlo played probably his worst game of the year on Tuesday. Certainly one of his worst games of the year against the Maple Leafs. Second goal of the game was him getting absolutely skated around by the Maple Leafs. I think it was Mitch Marner. Completely skated around. Looks like he had cement in his skates. And then doesn't cover the back post on the rebound chance. And he's, tap in goal on the back post for Toronto, because Carlo not only gets walked, but then even after he gets walked, he doesn't cover his guy on the side post, and it's a goal for the Leafs. And then the third goal, Connor Clifton again. Thank you, Connor. Blasts a shot off of the shin pads of Alex Kerfoot, giving him a clear breakaway back the other way. When you're shooting the puck from the point, you know you cannot turn the puck over there at the blue line. That is one of the worst areas on the ice to turn the puck over, is at the offensive zone blue line.
That's almost a guaranteed breakaway.
It's a guaranteed at least 2-on-1 going back the other way. And if your D partner doesn't get back to help, it's your breakaway. Mm-hmm. So Clifton here has the puck out at the blue line, and Kerfoot's right in front of him. And instead of, there was so many other things he could do. At least eat the puck along the board so that your forwards have a chance to get back and help out defensively. Kill some time. Eat the puck along the wall. Even if it results in a turnover, you'll give some time for the other players to get back into a defensive posture. The best move there would have been just, finding a way to dump it in and getting the puck deep. But what does Clifton do? He tries to blast a shot right through Alex Kerfoot, which immediately goes off his shin pads, break away the other way, as obviously Clifton is facing the wrong way. Kerfoot just goes right around him, gets the breakaway, and tucks it home. Pretty nice move in front of the net by Kerfoot as well. He had a nice deke on that goal. That's one that Swayman, you probably would have loved to have Swayman maybe make a big save there. Not that it was his fault. I'm never going to blame the goalie on a breakaway and say that it's his fault. But that's one where if your goalie's going to steal a game, that's kind of a spot that you would like to have a save, maybe like a game-changing save. And if that happens, it's 2-1 rather than 3-1 at the end of the first period. And Boston's a little bit more in that game than what they were going into the second. So that could have been a game changer right there. But again, the blame is not on Swayman. It was a breakaway. Kerfoot made a really nice move. Clifton cannot just throw the puck into the shin pads of Kerfoot there and have him block it and get a breakaway the other way. So the first 3 goals of the game for Toronto are all directly off mistakes from the Bruins D, and that's a pretty good representation of the entire night for Boston's defense.
And the one thing the Maple Leafs have always had, as far back as I can remember, is speed. They always seem to be a very good skating team, and they showed it against the Bruins last night. We like to joke about the Maple Leafs, Austin Matthews, a pretty boy, finesse guy, this, that, and the other thing. But that finesse can get things done. And the Bruins look slow on Tuesday night. And, the Bruins, not to go off on a tangent, so I'll just keep it short. The Bruins haven't really been a speed team in quite a while. The addition of Taylor Hall added more speed.
I don't think they've ever been a speed team.
No, I don't think. Well, they had some fast players. I don't want to say back in the day, but they had good skaters. You know what I mean? I feel like over the past couple of years, the Bruins have trended toward physicality and not so much finesse. And you know, sometimes they struggle against finesse teams as a result. And Tuesday night was the perfect example
Oh
of
yeah,
that.
they've had some issues with fast teams. Boston is not a speed team. They want to play big, rough and tumble physical hockey, and obviously Toronto is about the opposite of that. They're the antithesis of the Bruins style wise, and Toronto's style certainly won out last night. That's for sure.
And it's interesting because that style of hockey can either go really good if you're playing against it because you can, quite frankly, beat them up,
Yeah.
or it can go really bad because you can't catch up with the speed. There seems to be no middle ground,
Yep.
and last night was the really bad end of the spectrum.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. All right, so I'm trying to think of what I've touched on here. I am still, the next morning, I'm still furious about this Leafs game. And I mean, it's one game out of 82. I probably shouldn't be as mad as I am. Like, it's a regular season game it was a big game, but at the end of the day, it's 1 out of 82 in the regular season. It's not like it's not like it was how they played in game 7 or anything like that. And again, the playoffs could be a totally different story if these teams meet in the postseason because we all know Toronto's playoff history, but
Maple Leafs fans won't let you forget this game, though. That's the thing.
Well, all right.
That's the
Well,
other
now we're
part
going
of
to
it.
talk
Yeah.
about Leafs fans because boy, for a team that's won nothing in the last 50 years, they certainly love to talk a lot of trash about regular season wins when they've won absolutely nothing in the last 50 years. Like these Leafs fans, man, I don't understand it. How they can be so arrogant when they're such a joke. Like
Because they don't have much else to go on. They
like
really don't
like
have much
you've
else to go on.
won you haven't won a playoff series since I was in elementary school. And you're this arrogant after a regular season win or during a regular season win. Like these fans in the chat and on Twitter acting like they won the Stanley Cup because they won a regular season game against the Bruins. Like, holy cow. Like, you're that down bad that you're acting like you won a Stanley Cup over a regular season game. Like, that's pathetic. I mean,
Yeah.
they act like they haven't won anything in 50 years. I mean, it's very obnoxious. Their arrogance, and I don't understand where it comes from. Like, how can you be that arrogant when you've literally not won a playoff series in over 15 years?
Because they literally haven't won a playoff series in over 15 years, and this is the only thing that they can hold on to, really. And
Really, this is the biggest win in franchise history in the last 15 years.
and in the meantime, I would hold on to the May golf reservations. In the meantime,
Oh, I
so
hope they get blasted in the first round.
they will
I want to see Toronto get absolutely blasted in the first round.
they will because they may have to face Tampa Bay, right? And
Yeah, it's gonna either be Tampa or Boston, most likely.
probably there's a good chance that they could face Tampa Bay, in which case I think they're going to get absolutely mopped. Which, circling back, also makes last night's loss frustrating because they played well at the beginning of the week, or at the beginning of the show week, rather,
Yeah.
against the Lightning.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tale of two games. I mean, getting over last night's loss, they won they won 4 straight before that, but starting back to the beginning of the show week, which is Thursdays, because we record on Wednesdays. Thursday night's game was the polar opposite, performance-wise, of the Leafs game Tuesday. Thursday night's game, which I was lucky enough to actually be at and see live in person, was a phenomenal performance from the Bruins. It was a playoff-style game. It was a very tight checking game. It was, physical, high energy. It was just a close, hard-fought battle between two good teams, and the Bruins were able to come out on top and win that game 3-2. And it was an electric atmosphere in the building. It was an incredible game to be at. It was a ton of fun to watch. And I don't know, all in all, I was so impressed with the way that the Bruins played on Thursday night, and it was just the exact opposite Tuesday. But Thursday was a resounding win and a great win over a very difficult opponent.
I really liked the performance on Thursday. I thought they did a good job of taking away Tampa Bay's shooting lanes. They played solid defensively. Swayman, I thought, all things considered, played really well.
Yep.
And I also noticed Jack Studnicka a lot in
Yeah.
this game. I thought he skated really well. I thought he skated confidently. And um, I was also looking for Hampus Lindholm on the ice as this was his
For
debut.
yep.
And one of the things that really stuck out to me, I'm not sure if you would agree with this, but he had he has good hockey sense.
Oh, 100%.
Like he would pass or shoot with another Bruins player going towards the net, waiting for the deflection. He knew how to pass out of his own zone to start the break, and I was really impressed overall this week with what he brings to the table.
Hampus Lindholm had an incredibly good game on Thursday against Tampa Bay. I mean, what a way to kind of introduce yourself to a new team and a new fan base. He was awesome. He and McAvoy, I think, have played extremely well together. I think that is going to be a elite top pair, especially come playoff times when you need to really rely on your top guys. Lindholm and McAvoy as a pair, I think, are going to get big time ice time in the postseason. And he's played very well overall since coming to Boston. And one of the big things I noticed with him Thursday against the Lightning in particular was just the fact that he was able to step in and play in every situation right away. He was on the penalty kill. He was on the power play. He obviously 5-on-5, 4-on-4. He was able to just step in and brand new team, brand new system, brand new roster. And he was just able to step right in, play great. All situations, instant chemistry with McAvoy. They passed the puck well. They communicated well. And he just looked really, really good. And I've been very impressed with Lindholm so far. He's showing already that he's was an instant massive upgrade to the Bruins back end.
He has great play awareness. He's a good skater. He looks to be, in sync with Charlie McAvoy, and it's encouraging to really see him, like you said, be able to step up and play any role he's given because he is a fantastic skater.
Yeah.
He really is impressive to watch, and the fact that Sweeney and the Bruins were able to sign him for 8 years. I mean, I want this guy for as long as possible. I was kind of unsure because 8 years is a long time for a player, and I don't watch too much West Coast hockey, so I was unfamiliar with him at the start. But after seeing him play over the course of this last show week, I want him for as long as possible.
Yeah, I mean, 8 years is definitely a long contract, but I think, the first half of that contract, at the very least, is going to be very, very good. Beyond that, we'll see how he ages and stuff as he gets into his 30s, but the first half of this new extension is going to be good for the Bruins, I believe.
And I understand that these two were, different circumstances, obviously, but in my lifetime, in our lifetime, the Bruins have lost, Joe Thornton, Tyler Seguin, guys that really were impact players. So
Yep.
at this point, I'd rather the Bruins, give a good player, a great player, a long-term contract than to have to, lose out on another solid player.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And something that kind of a lot of people haven't really been talking about a whole lot, but it's sneakily coming up, is that David Pastrnak is going to need a new contract here after next season. So, there's another guy that the Bruins have to not lose. So, getting Lindholm locked up, I think, overall is a good move. And he's obviously been a big-time upgrade to the Bruins' defense.
And we'll get into this more as the time comes, and maybe even in the summer, but when you look at the ages of Marchand and Bergeron, re-signing Pastrnak is a must because he, especially after the New Year, it seems this year, he's been on an absolute tear.
Yep.
I think Saturday he scored something like 25 goals since the New Year, or 25 goals. Yeah, I think it was 25 goals since the New Year, or something crazy, but he's really turned it on too. And the Bruins need to keep him in a black and gold sweater for as long as they can.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Pastrnak 100% needs to be re-signed, and that's going to be obviously they've got Bergeron to deal with this summer, and they need to get Bergeron back. But Pastrnak is another guy that 100% needs to remain in a black and gold uniform. And I'm looking up quickly here how many goals he has. He has 30 goals since January 1st.
Wow.
So
That's unreal.
since the new year, in 40 games played, David Pastrnak has 30 goals and 47 points.
That's unreal. And it just speaks to how potent he can be. And it sounds so cliche, but you talk about catalyst type of players. He certainly is one of those guys. And, he's really been able to help carry the Bruins, particularly when Marchand and Bergeron were out at the beginning of February.
Yeah, absolutely. He's played a huge role in this team's resurgence since January 1st. He's a big reason why. So, the Tampa game was great. I was really happy to be there. It was a great game. It was an electric building. It was so much fun to watch and very different than Toronto last night. That's for sure. But Saturday's game was another win for the Bruins, and I didn't see this one, so Danny, if you want to kind of take the lead with this game, obviously I saw the box score, I saw that the Bruins won 6-3, and it looked like overall, people have told me that it was a very solid game for the Bruins overall, but I didn't get to actually see it personally live, so it was another win, and the big shot differential. Bruins outshot the Islanders 44-27. And this was another win in the win column for Boston here.
And it looked every bit as that 44-27 suggests. The Bruins seemed like they were doing laps against the Islanders. They did a good job of keeping the puck in the Islanders' zone, like we kind of touched on, a complete opposite from Tuesday night. They did a nice job of keeping pressure on the Islanders, and there was a point, I believe it was the end of the first period, where the Islanders scored a late period goal with a couple seconds left, and it was a 2-1 game. Then the Bruins promptly put their foot on the gas and were able to make it, a 3-1 game, and they never really looked back.
Yeah.
I'm just pulling up the box score here really quickly, and yeah, it says every bit as it looks. I mean,
they scored 4 goals in the second period.
They did, and they were able to really kind of put the game to bed in the second period. And this was a statement win because, like we've talked about, the Bruins have struggled against the Islanders, and there's been some close games, and this was not a close game. Marchand got into the action, Pastrnak got into the action, scoring a goal. Craig Smith scored another goal. He's really found his touch there, and
big time.
And Taylor Hall had 2 assists, and one of his goals was a tip in, great hand-eye coordination, and he's also really kind of found his role here, and he's looked really comfortable on the ice, and it just seems like it was one of those games where everything came together for the Bruins on Saturday, which made me feel confident about their chances heading into Tuesday's game, which is what also made Tuesday's game so frustrating.
Yeah, definitely. This was the first win, I believe, against the Islanders this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they lost the first 2. So this was the first time the Bruins beat the Islanders this year, which was nice to finally get a win against that team who has given the Bruins some issues. Really, not just this year, but in the last few years, the Islanders have been a tough matchup for Boston. But it was good to see them pick up a win in that final meeting of the season. So, all right. So all in all, the Bruins are still in good shape. Their record in their last 10 games is still, it's still 7-2-1. They had a 4-game winning streak going into the Toronto game. The Toronto game has definitely soured our feelings for at least for right now, and I definitely think there's some recency bias in that because it just happened last night. And Overall, though, how do how are you feeling about this team? Has your feelings changed at all, or you still kind of where you've been at with this team over the last few weeks and where they're at, how they're looking going into the playoffs? Just overall feelings on the Bruins.
I will say the Toronto game makes me a little bit wary just because that's a playoff level team and
Yep.
they did not look good last night. Overall, I think they've looked really good. Like you said, 7-2-1 in their last 10, and they've been able to really get the job done and continue to climb the standings. And this isn't something that they've just turned on over the last month or so. Like we kind of mentioned before in previous shows, this is something that they've done for the last
3 months.
4 months now or so, 3 months.
Yeah, January, February, March, the last 3 months, Boston's looked like a totally different team than they did for the first few months of the year.
And so that level of consistency certainly has me encouraged. I still like where the team is at. I'm just a little bit worried based on last night's result how they will do against even or better teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I'm overall the team's still playing well. Last night was a stinker against Toronto, but overall they're playing well. They've won 7 out of their last 10. It's not like there's a whole lot to complain about. I'm super frustrated about last night's game because of, that was hyped up to be like a playoff preview. Like that was going to be a playoff style game. Teams were tied in the standings. There was a lot on the line. And yeah, it's only a regular season game and it's only 1 out of 82, but that game had more juice to it than that. That game meant more than that against an arch rival like Toronto. And they fell flat and they didn't show up and it wasn't a good performance. And the Leafs played well, but a lot of it was Boston just playing really, really poorly. I mean, the defensive play was horrendous. The turnovers, the odd man rushes against, like how many 3-on-2s and 2-on-1s do we see Toronto get in that game? The lax defensive zone coverage was, I mean, that does make me worry a little bit because you cannot afford to do that in the playoffs. The playoffs are too tight, too close between teams for you to have games like that.
And what do all of these playoff teams have? Speed.
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 Especially Florida and Toronto in particular. Tampa certainly has some speedy players, but so do the Bruins. They've got some guys that can skate. Tampa, though, overall, I think is molded more closely to how the Bruins are molded, whereas Florida and Toronto are speed teams. They are high-flying, speedy offensive teams.
The thing about Tampa Bay, though, what they have that we don't is puck control and situational play awareness.
They have more superstars.
They do have more superstars. Yeah, obviously they are a damn good team, but they have more. I feel like they're a little bit better in terms of stick handling and puck control.
Yeah.
And I feel like still the Bruins are struggling to get the puck, past center ice, and they still make turnovers in their own zone, and that's not something that Tampa Bay does too often.
Yeah, and those are the kinds of things that will come back and bite you in the playoffs. I mean, a lot of these playoff games come down to one goal, and a lot of these playoff series come down to one game. And that one turnover in the defensive zone or that one turnover at the offensive blue line that results in a 2-on-1 back the other way could be the difference in the series. And that could be the difference between moving on to the next round and hitting the golf course the next day. And you just can't have those kinds of mistakes in the playoffs if you want to win a Stanley Cup. I don't know. I still don't. I don't think Boston is. I mean, they have a chance, obviously, because I think every team that makes the playoffs has a chance to go on a run. But if I'm picking Stanley Cup contenders right now, Boston's not near the top of my list. I don't see them winning a cup this year.
I don't see it either, and I think if they don't win this year, that window's closed. I really do.
Yeah.
But what was I going to say? Going back to the situational awareness and play awareness. We had the exact same conversation about, kind of relaxing in late games, if you remember, a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
We had this exact same conversation about giving up, you know, late goals and, mental lapses and these teams in the playoffs, Florida, you know, Tampa Bay, Carolina, they do not do that. They may do that sometimes, but that's not something that's regularly an issue with them.
Yep.
They are very tight in terms of how they play the game. They're efficient. They're all three are well coached. And I'm not saying the Bruins aren't well coached, but they just have a lot more balance and are a more complete team, complete teams than the Bruins right now. And I just I want to see the Bruins have a shot at winning the cup, but don't I just don't see it, and it's tough because they've been playing so well. But last night was a stark reminder that maybe the Bruins still have some work to do.
Yeah, it was a wake-up call for sure. It was a wake-up call. I don't think this is a cup level team. I think this is a very good team. I don't think it's a great team. And I think especially with the high-end teams that we have in the league this year, I don't think a very good team is going to win the cup. I think you're going to have to be a great team to win the Stanley Cup this year. Just because this year in particular, I feel like the top teams are really, really good. Like if this was kind of a down year where, you know, where maybe every team was struggling at points, and you had, maybe, like the year in 2019 when Tampa got knocked out in the first round. Like Tampa was supposed to be the dominant team heading into the playoffs, and they, won 62 games that season, which tied the record. And, it was supposed to be Tampa's year, and then they got knocked out in round one, and all of a sudden that kind of opened things up. And, you didn't necessarily have to be a great team to go deep that year. You just had to play great at the right time. And I think the Bruins took advantage of that. And, they were able to go to the finals in 2019. But this year, I think there are too many elite high-end teams like Carolina, like Florida, like Colorado in the West, like Calgary, who's playing really well in the West.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are too many teams at that level that are clearly better than the Bruins for me to think that the Bruins are going to get to the cup this year. I mean, all of those teams would have to end up getting knocked out.
Yeah. And you're not going to see that, are you?
I don't
think
think so. One of them might be, maybe Florida gets bounced early. Maybe Tampa gets bounced early. One of them could get knocked out early. Maybe two of them gets knocked out early, but I don't see all of them getting knocked.
It's like driving to the execution house when you're on death row, right? And it's coming, but it feels like a damn long drive. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's what this Bruins playoff run is going to feel like. It's going to be a long drive, but at the end of the day, we know what's going to happen. We've known what's going to happen for the last, 9 years now? And excuse me for sounding a little pessimistic, but this team has just had so many chances to get it done, and they just haven't. And this Toronto game is triggering me. I'll say it. It's triggering me.
Yeah.
I just don't see it happening. I really don't. And I don't want to go on a John rant. I'll save that for you later, but I just don't see it this year.
No, I mean, I don't either. I agree with you. I don't know that in that 2019, that 2019 finals certainly left a bad taste in my mouth about the Bruins in the playoffs, because that's a series that I fully believe they should have won. They fully should have won the Stanley Cup that year, and they didn't, and they blew it. And
everything lined up for them to win the Stanley Cup in terms of opponents and
beatable teams. They played Columbus in the second round, who was never supposed to make it that far. So, they ended Columbus's Cinderella run. Then they got the Carolina Hurricanes in the conference final, another team that was never supposed to be that deep into the playoffs. They were an underdog that year. Obviously, Carolina now has become one of the favorites as they've gotten better year in and year out. But back in 2019, when they faced them in the conference final, Carolina wasn't supposed to be there.
That was when Carolina put everybody on notice, I feel like.
Yeah,
whoa,
that was
this team is going to be
Carolina's
good for the future. Yeah.
Coming out party was the 2019 playoffs. But Boston was able to get them and beat them in the conference finals, and then they got St. Louis in the finals, who I thought was a beatable team, and they should have won that series, and they didn't. So
They struggled with Toronto that year in the first round a little bit. I remember Toronto made it a little bit of a series, if I recall correctly.
yeah, I mean Toronto absolutely made it a series. That was a very tight series in the
Yeah.
first round that year, but the Bruins were able to come out on top in the end and continue Toronto's first round losing. But I just, ever since I didn't think the Bruins were going to get to the finals that year, and they did. So they proved me wrong there, but then they blew it in the finals. And ever since then, I haven't really seen much from Boston that makes me think that they can go that deep. I mean, the Islanders series last year was pretty ugly, especially since, didn't Boston take a 2-1 series lead in that and then lose 3 straight?
They did.
Yeah, so that doesn't give me a lot of high hopes for them beating a team like Florida or Carolina or Tampa this year. What happened the year before? Oh, the bubble year, they got blasted by Tampa Bay. They got
I do remember that.
absolutely blasted by Tampa Bay. That wasn't even a series. Obviously, Tampa went on to win the cup and was the best team that year and deserved that win. So I'll give the Bruins a little bit of a break on that one, because that to me is similar to when they lost in 2013 to Chicago in the finals. Like, Chicago was just straight up the better team in 2013. And I would say Tampa, when they lost in 2020, was straight up the better team. And I'm not going to count that against the Bruins. But the Islanders series last year was pretty ugly. And I don't know. I don't have a lot of optimism towards the Bruins in the playoffs this year.
I don't really either. And for me, I'm kind of looking towards the future to see what they'll do as they try to, I hate to say it, but move on from the old guard, so to speak. Not that I want them to trade anybody or, release anybody, but like we said before, age is catching up to the main point producers of the Bruins, with the exception of Pastrnak. Pasta will still be here, hopefully, for a little bit, depending on if they can get the contract done. But
boy, do they need to get that contract done.
I would not want to be Don Sweeney right now, between all the moves and all the change he's gonna have to undergo. I'd be losing my hair. But not that I have much to begin with, since I shave it. But it's gonna be a tough next couple of years, I think. How this season goes, and especially the playoffs go, will dictate probably a lot of what the Bruins do in the future. And maybe the Bruins can make it respectable. Maybe they'll make it to the Stanley Cup, but I don't think so right now.
I think how they do this year is going to really affect Bergeron's decision and what he's going to do.
Yeah,
Patrice Bergeron does not have a contract after this season. He's an unrestricted free agent. He could go play for another team. He could retire. He could re-sign and come back to Boston. There's a lot of options on the table for Bergeron here. He's obviously been, he's played through a lot of injuries throughout his career. He's had a lot of injuries in his career. I do think that retirement is very much on the table with Patrice Bergeron.
Yeah.
I really hope he doesn't play for another team. He's a guy that I want to be a career Bruin.
I'm hoping he doesn't pull a Tom Brady or something.
Yeah, how devastating would that be for Boston sports fans to watch Tom Brady leave New England and go play for the Bucks, and then if a couple years later Patrice Bergeron leaves the Bruins and goes plays for another team,
and then wins a Stanley Cup.
Imagine
Bowl.
He signs with Florida or somebody like that and wins another cup with a different team.
Ugh, don't even get me going. I couldn't handle that. I really couldn't.
I don't want to see him in another jersey.
No, I think honestly, in my opinion, what's going to happen is he'll probably sign back here for 2 more years and then call it a career. That's my prediction. I don't see him retiring quite yet. I see 2 more years, but because it's hard to retire. Once you retire, you're done. So
yeah,
but he has been playing since he was 18. Since I was, 8 years old. I'm 26 now.
Yeah.
So he's got nothing left to prove. He's got a Olympic medals, Stanley Cup, All-Star, Hall of Famer, I assume.
Oh yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see what he does. I wouldn't fault him if he retires, but I would love to see him come back for selfish reasons, just because he's so much fun to watch. I know he's one of your favorite players.
Yeah, he is my favorite player, and I don't know if how I would handle seeing him in a different jersey. He's a guy that's got to be a career Bruin in my opinion, but. So
Yeah,
I'm sure a lot of people throughout the 80s and 90s thought that about Ray Bourque, and Ray Bourque
I
ended up going
know.
to Colorado and winning a cup in Colorado. So
Oh yeah, I forgot
um,
about Bork too. I
I
forgot about
guess
that.
I guess you can never be sure, with guys at the end of their careers, and we've certainly seen it throughout the NHL. Mike Modano did not play his entire career with the Stars; he ended up in Detroit at the end. Daniel Alfredson, after years and years and years in Ottawa, also ended up in Detroit at the end. So it's definitely not impossible, but God, I really hope Bergeron at least signs back for another year with the Bruins.
I do too. I mean, he embodies what the Boston Bruins are all about. He's a
Yeah.
heck of a player, and he's meant so much to the city and the organization over the years. And I'm sure we'll get into this more in the summer once the decisions arrive. But man, I don't see a storybook ending for the Bruins, at least not right now.
So Bergeron obviously is coming down to the wire here, age-wise and in his career. Who do you think's the captain after Bergeron?
Hmm. I'm gonna say Pasta
Really?
because I think Marchand will be on his way out shortly after Bergeron. Like if Bergeron goes, I think you're going to see Marchand go shortly thereafter. In
Okay.
which case, the Bruins will want Pastrnak to be the next face of the franchise and name him captain. That's my prediction.
I think it's Charlie McAvoy.
Ooh,
I 100%. I think McAvoy would have the C right now if Bergeron wasn't on the team, in my opinion.
that's true.
Marchand's still too undisciplined. He still does too much stupid stuff to wear a C. I know that they slap an A on him from time to time, and like he does wear a letter, but I think wearing the C is different. Like you've got to be the guy when you wear the C, and I think Marchand's still too undisciplined, and we saw it with him in the Tristan Jarry incident earlier in the year.
That was
Um,
frustrating.
we
Yeah,
saw him get the 10-minute misconduct last night with yelling at the referees. We saw the cross check on Tavares at the end of the period. Like Marchand, I think just does too much dumb stuff like that. Still, I think McAvoy's the next captain of this team. Personally,
I feel like McAvoy will get it towards the not the end of his career, but the midpoint. I mean, let's see. He's kind of at the midpoint right now, but when you look at his career, I think he has a chance to play for quite a while. So
oh
I could
yeah,
see either
absolutely.
Pastrnak or McAvoy.
All right, so obviously now we got to look ahead, and boy, am I happy to look ahead rather than look back because I'm still furious about that game last night. But anyway, upcoming schedule for the Bruins here to finish out the month of March and begin April. Next game is Thursday night against the New Jersey Devils. Boy, does this need to be a bounce back game for the Bruins. They better come out and show me something against a non-playoff team like the Devils Thursday night. This game will have happened by the time that you guys watching all see this video, but we're recording on Wednesday, so obviously it hasn't happened yet. New Jersey, man, this is a team that Boston needs to beat, and I want to see them resoundingly win this game to make up for what happened against the Leafs.
And the Devils always play the Bruins tough, so it should be a good game no matter what. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I'm predicting that the Bruins will win this one.
All right, next game after New Jersey, Saturday night against the Columbus Blue Jackets, another non-playoff team that the Bruins are playing against here. Finishing up their homestand. It's been a long homestand for the Bruins here. Let's see, 6 games straight on home ice. Hang on, 5 games straight on home ice. I did count wrong. So 5 straight at home for the Bruins. Finishes up Saturday night with the Blue Jackets. This is another game that I think Boston needs to make sure they get the W in.
Absolutely. And doesn't it seem like they always play Columbus at night? Because I think the last time they played Columbus at night on a
Yeah, I
Saturday
don't
as well.
remember any afternoon games against the Blue Jackets.
Yeah, so
Afternoon games are generally like the Metro. Well, Columbus is a Metro team, but the more like Rangers, Islanders, Penguins, like those tend to be the afternoon games.
yeah, so I wonder. Huh, that's interesting. But
Well,
yeah,
I'm glad it's not an afternoon game though.
yeah, me neither. Because then I can actually watch this one,
Yeah.
and and so I think it's gonna be. I think the Bruins can win this one. I think they're gonna go on a nice little run here to kind of close out the season. And then after Columbus, how many more regular season games do they have?
Less than a month's worth. I don't know. Let's see. 4, 7, 11,
Oh, okay.
15, 14.
Okay.
Yeah, 14. So they got Columbus again on Monday. Bruins going into the first full week of April next week. They've got back-to-back Columbus, Detroit, Monday, Tuesday. Both on the road, though. So Bruins finally go back out on the road. At Columbus, at Detroit, Monday, Tuesday. So 4 straight games here for Boston this coming week against non-playoff teams. New Jersey, Columbus twice, and Detroit. Feels like the Bruins need to get some points out of this stretch.
I'm gonna say they're gonna lose the second Columbus game, but win the rest. I think this is gonna be a really good week for the Bruins, which means that this will probably end up being a week that they struggle because I'm never good with predictions. But I see them being, having a good week and beating, losing to Columbus only on that Monday. You said right? Monday
Yeah.
was
Yep.
that Monday game. I see being a tough one, but the rest of the week should be pretty solid for them. I see the Bruins continuing to climb in the standings this week.
All right. I want to see at least 3 wins, and I don't want to see a regulation loss. If they do drop a game, they better at least get a point out of it. These are teams that Boston 100% should be beating. These are teams that are not at the same level as the Bruins. They are teams that are not playoff teams. Bruins need to be beating teams like these. So I'm going to say 3-0-1. I think they will drop a game, but it's going to be in overtime. 7 out of a possible 8 points here. Bruins need a big bounce back after that bad loss to the Leafs.
They do, and what they do this week, I don't want to say it'll tell a lot, but it's important for them to gain some momentum here as they look towards the playoffs.
100%. All right, so there it is, guys. Episode 61 of Black and Gold Weekly. Danny, as always, man, it was awesome to talk some hockey with you. Thank you so much for coming on again, and hopefully we do this again soon.
Yeah, I'm having a great time. It's been great to see the show grow, and I remember when I was on the first episode. Now it's 60 episodes later?
Yeah, 61 now, and you were on
Crazy.
episode 1
Crazy,
back
crazy,
at the
crazy.
beginning.
But it's always a good time, and I'll just talk some more hockey with you soon.
Definitely, man. Appreciate it. Thank you to everybody for watching. Awesome to have you as well, and hope that you guys enjoyed the episode. Once again, I want to give a big thank you to Mark Allred and the entire team at Black and Gold Productions. This show would not be happening without them. So a big thank you to them for all of their support. And also, don't forget about the links down in the description of the video. Whether you're in the market for Boston Bruins apparel, NHL apparel from any of the teams, or college NCAA apparel, it's all there down in the description. Be sure to check that out. Thank you guys again so much for watching this week. Hopefully, we have some really good things to talk about next week for the next show as well. And that's going to do it here for episode 61. Have a great weekend, everybody. Talk to you soon.